Maya Johnson stood in front of her closet early Tuesday morning. Today was not a normal day at work. As the CEO of Skyline Airways, one of the biggest airlines in the country, she usually wore fancy suits and heels. But today was different. Today, she would be a regular person. "Perfect," she said, pulling out some old jeans, a plain black t-shirt, and her comfortable sneakers. No makeup, no fancy jewelry, and her hair in a simple ponytail. Maya looked in the mirror and smiled. No one would guess she was worth millions or that she ran a whole airline company. Maya had started Skyline Airways 10 years ago. Back then, it was a small company with just 3 planes. Now they had over 50 planes and flew all over the world. She had worked very hard to get here, but she never forgot where she came from. "Time to see how my staff really treats our customers," she said to herself as she grabbed her small carry-on bag. Maya often traveled like this, looking like a regular person, to check how her employees treated passengers who weren't rich or famous. She believed everyone should get good service, not just those who looked important. At her apartment door, Maya's assistant Thomas was waiting with some papers. He looked surprised at her outfit. "Are you sure about this, Ms. Johnson?" he asked, handing her the ticket. "You could just ask for reports about customer service." Maya shook her head. "Reports don't tell me how people really feel, Thomas. I need to see it with my own eyes." The ticket was for first class on Flight 372 to Chicago. Maya had chosen this flight because there had been some complaints about the service recently. She wanted to see the problems herself. "Your driver is waiting downstairs," Thomas said. "And remember, no one at the airport knows you're coming." "I didn't tell anyone." "Good," Maya replied. "That's exactly what I want. I'll call you when I land." Instead of using her private car, Maya took a regular taxi to the airport. The driver was friendly and talked about the weather. He had no idea who she was, and Maya liked that feeling. Sometimes it was nice to just be normal. At the airport, Maya joined the long security line. She watched as business people in expensive suits looked annoyed at the wait. She saw families with children trying to keep everyone together. This was what her customers experienced every day. After security, Maya walked through the busy terminal. She stopped to buy a coffee and a magazine for the flight. The coffee shop was part of her airline's terminal, and she made a mental note that the service was slow. At the gate, Maya sat in a plastic chair like everyone else. A mother with a crying baby sat next to her, looking tired. Maya smiled at her. "First flight with the little one?" Maya asked kindly. "Yes," the woman answered. "I'm so nervous about how people will react if she cries on the plane." "Don't worry," Maya said. "Everyone was a baby once. Just do your best." The woman smiled, looking relieved. This was why Maya did these trips, to hear real stories from real people. When boarding time came, Maya waited in line with her first-class ticket. She watched how the gate agents treated different people. Some of the staff were very nice, but others barely looked up when taking tickets. Finally, it was Maya's turn. The gate agent looked at her casual clothes, then at her first-class ticket, then back at her face with a confused expression. "First class?" the agent asked with doubt in her voice. "Yes," Maya said simply, keeping her face neutral even though she felt a sting inside. This was exactly the kind of thing she was looking for, the small ways people judged others based on how they looked. The agent handed back her ticket with a slight frown. "Enjoy your flight," she said, but her tone suggested she didn't believe Maya belonged in first class. Maya walked down the jetway toward the plane, her heart beating faster. The real test was about to begin. Maya stepped onto the plane and smiled at the flight attendant who stood at the door. The woman smiled back, but her eyes moved quickly to Maya's casual clothes. The smile became smaller. "Welcome aboard," the flight attendant said, her voice not as warm as it had been for the man in the business suit who entered before Maya. "Your seat." "2A," Maya replied. "First class." The flight attendant's eyebrows went up slightly. "First class is to your left," she said, pointing. Maya nodded and walked to the first-class cabin. It was nice and spacious, just as she had designed it 2 years ago, when she updated all the planes. The seats were big and comfortable. The lighting was soft. There was even a small flower in a vase by each window. Maya found her seat and put her small bag in the overhead bin. She sat down and looked around. Most of the other passengers in first class wore expensive clothes. There was a man in a suit talking loudly on his phone about a business deal. There was a woman with a designer purse and lots of jewelry. They all looked like they belonged in first class. Maya pulled out her phone to check her emails. There were many messages from her staff about company business. She started to read them, feeling comfortable in the soft seat. A different flight attendant, whose name tag said Karen, walked by and stopped suddenly when she saw Maya. "Excuse me," Karen said in a loud voice. "This is the first-class cabin." She looked at Maya's jeans and t-shirt with a frown. "Yes, I know," Maya said calmly. "This is my seat." She showed her ticket to the flight attendant. Karen took the ticket and studied it for a long time. Her face showed that she didn't think Maya should be there. "There must be some mistake," Karen said firmly. "Economy class is at the back of the plane." By now, other passengers were watching. Some looked uncomfortable. Others seemed to agree with Karen that Maya didn't belong there. "There's no mistake," Maya said, keeping her voice steady even though she felt angry inside. "I have a first-class ticket for seat 2A. This is 2A. The man in the business suit across the aisle laughed softly. "Maybe she won a contest or something," he said to the woman next to him, not caring if Maya heard. Karen handed back the ticket. "Wait here," she said and walked quickly to the front of the cabin, where she talked with another flight attendant. A tall man named Michael, according to his name tag. They both looked over at Maya. Michael walked over with a serious face. "Ma'am, may I see your ID and boarding pass, please?" Maya took a deep breath. She knew what was happening. It had happened before, though never on her own airline. She handed over her ID, not her CEO card or business card, but her regular driver's license and her boarding pass. "Is there a problem with my ticket?" Maya asked, looking Michael straight in the eyes. "We just need to verify some information," he said, not really answering her question. He studied her ID card closely. The other passengers continued to stare. The mother with the baby that Maya had talked to at the gate walked by heading toward economy class. She gave Maya a small, friendly wave. Michael handed back the ID and boarding pass, but didn't look convinced. "One moment, please," he said and walked to the front of the plane, pulling out a phone. Maya knew he was probably calling the gate to check if her ticket was real. She felt her face getting warm. She had started this airline to make flying better for everyone. She had put in rules against treating people differently based on how they looked. Yet here she was, being questioned about her right to sit in a seat she had paid for, on her own airline. The other passengers whispered and looked at her. Maya sat tall and kept calm on the outside, but inside she was taking mental notes of everything. This experience would definitely lead to changes at Skyline Airways. 5 minutes passed. Maya sat quietly, though she could feel the eyes of other passengers on her. She opened a magazine but couldn't focus on the words. The air in the cabin felt heavy with tension. Finally, Michael returned with Karen and a third flight attendant whose name tag read Sarah. Sarah seemed to be in charge of the others. Her face looked worried. "Ma'am," Sarah said in a low voice, leaning down so others wouldn't hear, "I'm sorry, but we need you to come with us." Maya looked up at her. "Why?" she asked simply. Sarah glanced around nervously. "There seems to be a situation with your ticket. We need to discuss it away from other passengers." Maya didn't move. "There's no situation with my ticket," she said clearly. "I bought a first-class ticket. This is my assigned seat." By now, almost everyone in first class was watching. Some had their phones out, maybe recording the scene. Maya knew videos like this often went viral on social media. People being kicked off planes unfairly was big news these days. "Please, Mom," Sarah said, her voice getting firmer. "We can sort this out in the front galley." The man in the business suit spoke up. "Just go with them," he said to Maya. "Some of us paid a lot of money to sit here." Maya turned to him. "So did I," she said calmly. "Look," Michael cut in. "If you don't come with us, we'll have to call the captain." "Please do," Maya replied. She was not going to move. This had gone too far. The 3 flight attendants huddled together, whispering. Then Sarah pulled out a phone and made a call. More minutes passed. Other passengers were getting restless. The flight was now 15 minutes late for takeoff. Suddenly, a new person entered the first-class cabin. It was the captain, dressed in his uniform with 4 stripes on the sleeves. "What's the delay?" he asked Sarah. Sarah pointed discreetly toward Maya. "Seating issue," she whispered, but loud enough for Maya to hear. The captain walked over to Maya's seat. "Good morning," he said professionally. "I understand there's some confusion about seating arrangements." "There's no confusion on my part," Maya said. "I have a valid first-class ticket for this seat." The captain looked at the flight attendants. "Have you verified her boarding pass?" "Yes, but—" Karen started to say, then stopped. "But what?" the captain asked. Karen looked uncomfortable. "It just seems unusual. We thought perhaps there was a system error." The captain frowned. "Did you check her ID?" "Yes," Michael replied. "The name matches the ticket." The captain turned back to Maya. "May I see your ID, please? I apologize for the inconvenience." Maya handed over her driver's license. The captain looked at it for a moment. Then his eyes grew wide. He looked at Maya's face, then back at the ID. "Ms. Johnson?" he asked, his voice suddenly different. "Yes," Maya replied. The captain's face turned pale. "Maya Johnson, the CEO of Skyline Airways." A heavy silence fell over the first-class cabin. The flight attendants froze. The man in the business suit stopped talking. Everyone stared. "Yes," Maya said again. "That's me." The captain stood up straight. "Ms. Johnson, I am so sorry for this misunderstanding. It's an honor to have you on board." The 3 flight attendants looked shocked. Karen's mouth fell open. Michael stepped back as if he had seen a ghost. Sarah was the first to recover. "Ms. Johnson," she stammered, "we had no idea. Please accept our deepest apologies." Maya looked around at their faces and at the other passengers who now seemed very interested in their magazines or phones. No one would meet her eyes. "Captain," Maya said, "I'd like to speak with you and your crew after we land. For now, I think we should get this flight going. People have places to be." The captain nodded quickly. "Of course, Ms. Johnson. Right away." As the crew rushed to prepare for takeoff, the mood in the first-class cabin had completely changed. The same people who had looked down on Maya minutes ago now sneaked glances at her with new respect and curiosity in their eyes. The plane took off 15 minutes late. The flight attendants now moved differently around Maya. They were nervous and tried too hard to be nice. Every few minutes, someone would come by to ask if she needed anything. "More water, Ms. Johnson." "Another pillow, Ms. Johnson." "Is the temperature okay for you, Ms. Johnson?" Maya just smiled and said she was fine. She didn't want special treatment. She wanted to see how they treated regular passengers, but that was impossible now. Everyone knew who she was. Once they reached flying height, the captain's voice came over the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are now at our cruising altitude of 38,000 feet. The weather looks good all the way to Chicago. We should land on time despite our late start. Thank you for your patience." Maya looked out the window at the clouds below. She thought about what had just happened. It wasn't the first time people had judged her by how she looked. Even after all her success, it still happened. Sarah, the lead flight attendant, came to Maya's seat with a glass of champagne. "With our compliments, Ms. Johnson," she said, placing it carefully on Maya's tray. "Thank you," Maya said, "but I didn't order this." "It's our way of apologizing," Sarah said. Her hands were shaking a little. She was clearly afraid of losing her job. Maya took a small sip of the champagne. Sarah, how long have you worked for Skyline Airways? 8 years, Ms. Johnson. And you, Karen? Maya asked as the other flight attendant passed by. Karen stopped. 5 years, Mom. And Michael? Just 2 years, Sarah answered for him. Maya nodded. So you've all been with us during the time we've been working on our Respect for All program. Right. The flight attendants looked at each other. Yes, they had all been through that training program. Maya had started it 3 years ago. It taught staff how to treat all passengers with respect, no matter what they looked like or what they wore. Yes, Ms. Johnson, Sarah said quietly. We've all taken that training. I see, Maya said. We'll talk more about that after we land. The flight attendants walked away, looking worried. The man in the business suit across from Maya now tried to catch her eye. When she looked at him, he smiled in a friendly way, very different from before. Ms. Johnson, he said, I just want to say what an honor it is to meet you. I'm John Davis from Apex Investments. Maya remembered that name. Apex was a company that wanted to invest in Skyline Airways. They had a meeting scheduled for next week. Hello, Mr. Davis, Maya said politely. Nice to meet you. I had no idea. He started, then stopped. His face turned red. He knew Maya had heard his rude comment earlier. Had no idea what, Mr. Davis? Maya asked. That you would be on this flight, he finished weakly. Maya smiled. Yes, I like to fly on my own plane sometimes. It helps me understand what our passengers experience. John Davis looked very uncomfortable now. Well, you've built an amazing company, Ms. Johnson. We're very excited about our meeting next week. Are you? Maya asked. That's good to hear. Though I have to say, today has been quite educational for me. Mr. Davis didn't know what to say to that. He turned away and pretended to be very interested in his laptop. Maya went back to looking out the window. She thought about the meeting with Apex Investments. She had been considering their offer to buy shares in her company. Now she wasn't so sure. The rest of the first-class passengers were all sneaking looks at her. Some tried to smile in a friendly way. Others just stared. Maya ignored them all and made notes on her phone. She had a lot to think about before the plane landed in Chicago. The food service began about an hour into the flight. Maya watched carefully as the flight attendants worked. This was one of the things she had come to check. Food in first class was supposed to be special. It was part of what people paid for. Michael brought Maya's meal first, before anyone else. He placed it carefully in front of her. Our chef's special today, Ms. Johnson, he said nervously. I made sure you got the best one. Maya looked at the plate. It did look good, but she had noticed something. Michael, she said quietly, I see Mr. Davis hasn't received his meal yet. She nodded toward the businessman across the aisle. We'll serve him next, Ms. Johnson. No, Maya said. Please serve the other passengers in the order they were supposed to be served. Don't change things because I'm here. Michael looked confused but nodded. Yes, Mom. He took Maya's plate back and went to serve an older woman who was sitting at the front of the cabin. Maya took out a small notebook and wrote something down. She had seen enough to know that the normal service rules were being broken because of her. This was not what she wanted. The plane hit some rough air and shook a little. The seat belt sign came on with a ding sound. A voice came over the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing some turbulence. Please return to your seats and fasten your seat belts. Maya looked back toward the economy section. She could see people fastening their belts. Then she noticed the mother with the baby she had talked to earlier. The baby was crying and the mother looked stressed. The people near her were giving her angry looks. Without thinking, Maya unbuckled her seatbelt and stood up. Ms. Johnson, Sarah said quickly, the seat belt sign is on. You need to stay seated. That woman back there needs help, Maya said. The one with the crying baby. I'll send someone to check on her, Sarah promised. No, I'll go, Maya said. Before anyone could stop her, she walked back to the economy section. The mother looked up in surprise when Maya appeared next to her seat. Having a hard time? Maya asked kindly. She won't stop crying, the mother said, looking tired. I've tried everything. Maya sat in the empty seat next to them. My sister has 3 kids. Sometimes they just need a new face to look at. She made a funny face at the baby, who stopped crying for a moment, surprised by this new person. I'm Maya, she said to the mother. What's your daughter's name? Lily, the mother said. And I'm Rachel. Thanks for coming back here. Everyone was getting annoyed with us. Maya played with the baby for a few minutes. She showed Rachel a trick her sister used, gently rubbing Lily's ears to help with the pressure from flying. Soon, Lily had stopped crying and was starting to fall asleep. Thank you so much, Rachel said. You're so good with babies. Do you have children? Maya smiled. No, not yet. Too busy with work. But I love kids. What kind of work do you do? Rachel asked. Before Maya could answer, Michael appeared in the aisle, looking worried. Ms. Johnson, the captain asked me to make sure you return to your seat. The turbulence might get worse. Rachel's eyes got big. Johnson? Are you Maya Johnson, the one who owns this airline? Several people nearby turned to look. Maya nodded. Yes, that's me. But why are you sitting back here helping me? Rachel asked, confused. Shouldn't you be up in first class? Sometimes first class isn't where the most important work is, Maya said with a smile. She patted Lily's head gently. This little one needed help more than I needed fancy food. As Maya walked back to her seat, followed by Michael, she could hear people in economy class whispering her name. Some took pictures with their phones. By the time they landed, Maya knew her little trip to economy would be all over social media. By the time the plane started to land in Chicago, Maya's phone was buzzing with messages. News was spreading fast about what had happened on the flight. Thomas, her assistant, had texted her 5 times. Are you okay? His first message said. People are posting about you online, said another. There's a video going viral, the most recent one read. Maya sighed. This was not what she had planned when she decided to take this flight. She had only wanted to see how her airline was running. Now it was turning into a big story. The captain's voice came over the speakers again. Ladies and gentlemen, we are beginning our final approach to Chicago. The local time is 11:45 a.m., and the weather is sunny and 72 degrees. Please make sure your seat belts are fastened. Maya put her notebook away and looked out the window. She could see the city of Chicago below, the tall buildings shining in the sun. She had a meeting there in 3 hours with some people who wanted to work with Skyline Airways. But first, she needed to talk to this flight crew. As the plane touched down on the runway, Maya saw Sarah, the lead flight attendant, watching her nervously. The woman was probably worried about losing her job. Maya didn't want to fire anybody. She wanted to fix the bigger problem. When the plane stopped at the gate and people started to get up, the captain's voice came over the speakers one more time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for flying with Skyline Airways today. We hope you enjoyed your flight. Before you go, I have a special announcement. We were honored to have the founder and CEO of Skyline Airways, Ms. Maya Johnson, on our flight today. People started to look around. Some pointed at Maya. Phones came out to take pictures. Ms. Johnson has asked to speak briefly with all passengers before you leave. Please give her your attention. Maya had not asked for this. She looked at the captain, who was standing at the front of the plane, smiling at her. He thought he was doing her a favor. Maya took a deep breath and stood up. She walked to the front of the plane where everyone could see her. Thank you, Captain, she said. I didn't expect to speak to everyone today. But since I'm here, I'd like to say something. The plane was very quiet. Everyone was listening. I started Skyline Airways 10 years ago because I love flying. I wanted to create an airline where everyone feels good about their trip. where everyone is treated with respect. She paused and looked around at the faces watching her. Today, I had an experience that showed me we still have work to do. When I first got on this plane wearing jeans and a t-shirt, I was treated like I didn't belong in first class. People made judgments about me based on how I looked. Some of the flight attendants looked down at the floor, their faces red with shame. But then, when people found out I owned this airline, suddenly I was treated like royalty. The same people who doubted me were now trying to please me. Maya smiled at the mother with the baby, who was standing in the aisle near the back. The truth is, every person who flies with us deserves the same respect and good service, no matter what they look like or what they wear. People started to nod. Some were recording her words on their phones. I'm not angry about what happened today, Maya continued. I'm grateful, because now I know exactly what we need to fix, and I promise you, we will fix it. She looked directly at the flight attendants and the captain. Starting today, Skyline Airways is going to work harder than ever to make sure every passenger feels first class, no matter where they sit on the plane. People started to clap. Even John Davis, the businessman who had been rude to her earlier, was clapping loudly. As Maya finished speaking, she saw Rachel, the mother with baby Lily, smiling at her with tears in her eyes. After her speech, it took Maya 30 minutes to get off the plane. Everyone wanted to talk to her. People wanted to shake her hand or take pictures with her. Some told her their own stories about being judged based on how they looked. When Maya finally walked into the airport terminal, Thomas was waiting for her. He looked worried. "Are you okay?" he asked. "I saw the videos online." "I'm fine," Maya said. "But we need to talk. I want the flight crew to meet us in the VIP lounge, and call James from the training department. I want him there too." Thomas nodded and made some calls on his phone. Then he led Maya through the busy airport to the Skyline Airways VIP lounge. It was a quiet, fancy room with comfortable chairs and free food and drinks. Most people didn't know it was there, hidden behind a plane door. Inside, Maya sat down and checked her own phone. The story was everywhere now. Someone had posted a video of her being questioned about her seat, and another video showed her speech at the end of the flight. The headline on one news site read, "Black CEO KTK out of first class on her own airline." "This is getting big," Thomas said, looking over her shoulder at her phone. "Good," Maya replied. "Maybe it will help make our point." 20 minutes later, the flight crew arrived. Captain Wilson, Sarah, Karen, and Michael all looked nervous as they entered the lounge. Behind them was James Porter, the head of training for Skyline Airways. "Please, sit down," Maya said, pointing to the chairs across from her. They all sat quietly, waiting for her to speak. They'd probably thought they were going to lose their jobs. "I want to be clear about something," Maya began. "I'm not here to fire anyone." The relief on their faces was easy to see. Sarah's shoulders dropped as she let out a breath she had been holding. "What happened today was not just about me," Maya continued. "It happens to people every day on airlines all over the world. People are judged by how they look, not who they are. We promised to be different when we started this airline. We did take the respect for all training," Karen said quietly. "But," she stopped, not finishing her thought. "But what?" Maya asked. "Please speak freely. No one will be punished for being honest." Karen looked at the others, then back at Maya. "But it's hard to change how you think. We see so many passengers every day. Sometimes we make quick judgments without even knowing we're doing it." Maya nodded. "That's exactly the problem. And that's what we need to fix." She turned to James, the training head. "Our current training isn't working well enough. We need to do better." James wrote something in his notebook. "What do you suggest, Ms. Johnson?" Maya thought for a moment. "I want a new program. Something that really makes people understand what it feels like to be judged unfairly." She looked at the flight crew. "You four are going to help us create it. You're going to tell your story, what happened today, as part of the new training. Captain Wilson spoke up. You want us to tell everyone how we messed up. I want you to tell everyone how easy it is to make wrong assumptions. Maya corrected him. And how important it is to treat everyone with the same respect. The captain nodded slowly. I understand. And I agree. We can do better. Good, Maya said, because I'm going to tell my story too. Not just to our staff, but to the world. Sarah looked confused. What do you mean? I've already had calls from 3 news shows wanting interviews about what happened today. Maya explained. I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to tell everyone what happened on our flight and what we're going to do to fix it. The crew looked worried again. Don't worry, Maya assured them. I won't use your names. This isn't about blaming individuals. It's about changing a system. Thomas's phone buzzed. He checked it and looked up at Maya. Apex Investments is calling. They want to move up the meeting. They say it's urgent. Maya smiled. I bet they do. Mr. Davis probably told them what happened. She stood up. Let's go meet them. I have some new terms to discuss. Maya and Thomas took a car to the tall glass building in downtown Chicago, where Apex Investments had their offices. On the way, Thomas showed Maya more news stories about what had happened on the plane. Look at this, he said. People are sharing their own stories now. They're using a hashtag called #RespectForAll. It's starting to trend. Maya looked at his phone. Thousands of people were posting about times they were judged unfairly because of how they looked. The story had touched something important. This is bigger than just our airline, Maya said quietly. When they arrived at the Apex building, they were taken straight up to the top floor. The receptionist recognized Maya right away. Ms. Johnson, we're all ready for you. Mr. Benson is waiting in the main conference room. Maya and Thomas were led into a large room with glass walls that showed a view of the whole city. 5 men in expensive suits stood up when Maya entered. One of them was John Davis, the man from the plane who had been rude to her. The oldest man, with gray hair and glasses, came forward with his hand out. Ms. Johnson, I'm Robert Benson, CEO of Apex Investments. It's an honor to meet you. Maya shook his hand. Thank you for seeing us on such short notice. Of course, Mr. Benson said. He glanced at John Davis, who looked very uncomfortable. I understand you and Mr. Davis have already met. Yes, we shared a flight this morning, Maya said simply. Mr. Benson cleared his throat. Well, shall we sit down and talk business? Everyone took seats around the big table. Mr. Benson started to talk about how Apex wanted to invest $50 million in Skyline Airways. He showed slides with charts and numbers. Maya listened quietly. When he finished, he smiled at Maya. So, what do you think of our offer? Maya sat up straight. Mr. Benson, before we talk about money, I'd like to talk about values. The men looked confused. This was not how business meetings usually went. Values. Mr. Benson repeated. Yes. What does Apex Investments value in a company? Is it just about making money, or do you care about how companies treat people? Mr. Benson adjusted his tie. Well, of course we care about ethics. All our investments are with ethical companies. Maya nodded. Good, because something happened today that made me think about what Skyline Airways stands for. She told the story of what had happened on the plane. She didn't look at John Davis as she spoke, but she could see his face turning red. Our company started with a promise to treat everyone with respect. Maya said, Today showed me we need to work harder on that promise, and we need partners who understand why that matters. The room was quiet when she finished. Mr. Benson took off his glasses and cleaned them with a cloth, thinking. Ms. Johnson, he finally said, I want to apologize for how you were treated. That includes any disrespect from our company. He glanced at John Davis. John Davis stood up. His voice shook a little as he spoke. Ms. Johnson, I behaved badly on that plane. I judged you before I knew who you were, and that was wrong. I'm truly sorry. Maya looked at him. His apology seemed real. Thank you for saying that, Mr. Davis. Mr. Benson put his glasses back on. Now, about our investment offer. We're still very interested in working with Skyline Airways, but I think you're suggesting some changes to our agreement. Maya smiled. Yes, I want to use part of your investment for something specific. I want to create a new training program for all airlines, not just ours. A program that teaches people not to judge others based on how they look. Mr. Benson raised his eyebrows. That's not what we usually fund. Then maybe it's time for something new, Maya replied. The world is watching Skyline Airways now. People are sharing their stories. We have a chance to make real change in how people are treated. Don't you want to be part of that? The men from Apex looked at each other. This was not the meeting they had expected. 6 months later, Maya stood on a stage in New York City. She was wearing a nice suit today, not jeans, and a t-shirt. Behind her was a big screen with the words, "Respect for All," and the logos of 20 different airlines, including Skyline Airways. "Welcome, everyone," Maya said into the microphone. "Thank you for coming to the launch of the Respect for All program." The room was full of people. There were airline workers, business leaders, and reporters from TV and newspapers. In the front row sat Mr. Benson from Apex Investments. Next to him was John Davis, who now worked closely with Maya on the new program. 6 months ago, I had an experience that changed me and my company, Maya continued. I was judged because of how I looked, not who I was. Many of you saw the videos. They went viral. But something good came from that bad experience. She pressed a button, and the screen showed pictures of flight attendants in training classes. The Respect for All program is now being used by 20 airlines. Over 10,000 airline workers have already completed the training. And this is just the beginning. The crowd clapped. Maya smiled and continued. But the most amazing thing was how many people shared their own stories. The hashtag #RespectForAll hashtag has been used over 5 million times. People from all walks of life told their stories of being judged unfairly. She looked around the room. And guess who's here today? Someone who became an important part of my story. Maya pointed to the side of the stage. Rachel walked out, carrying baby Lily, who was now bigger and could wave to the crowd. This is Rachel and Lily, Maya said. They were on that flight 6 months ago. Rachel now works with us as an advisor for our family travel policies. The crowd clapped again as Rachel waved. And there's someone else I want you to meet, Maya said. She gestured to the other side of the stage. Sarah, the lead flight attendant from that day, walked out. She looked nervous but smiled as she reached Maya. Sarah was the lead flight attendant on my flight that day, Maya explained. Today, she's one of our top trainers for the Respect for All program. She tells her story to help others learn. Sarah stepped up to the microphone. When Ms. Johnson first told us she wanted us to help with the new training, I was scared. I thought I would be fired. Instead, I was given a chance to make things better. Now I help train flight crews to see people for who they are, not what they look like. After Sarah finished speaking, Maya came back to the microphone. We've made progress, but we have more work to do, she said. Today, I'm proud to announce that Apex Investments has agreed to put another $20 million into expanding our program to hotels, restaurants, and stores. Mr. Benson stood up as people clapped. He gave Maya a thumbs up. And one more announcement, Maya said. Skyline Airways is starting a scholarship program for young people who want to work in aviation. We'll help them get education and training, no matter their background. The crowd stood up, clapping loudly. Camera flashes went off everywhere. Maya had tears in her eyes as she looked out at all the people. After the event, Maya met with reporters for interviews. One young reporter asked, "Ms. Johnson, did you ever think that being treated badly on that flight would lead to all this?" Maya smiled. Sometimes the worst moments can lead to the best changes. I was just one person who was judged unfairly. But millions of people have had the same experience. Together, we're changing how people see each other. As she left the building later, Maya passed a group of Skyline Airways flight attendants. They smiled and greeted her by name. She was wearing an expensive suit, but she knew they would have treated her the same as she had been in jeans and a t-shirt. That was real progress. Maya got into her car and looked at her phone. The hashtag respect for all was trending again. She smiled, knowing that what had started as a painful moment had grown into something that was changing lives for the better. "Driver," she said, "let's go to the airport. I'm flying home tonight, in economy class. I want to see how our training is working."